What's the one profession that even Jesus Christ himself warned people about? What's the one profession?
Yeah, the lawyer.
Yeah,
Lawyers.
Damn,
So
what's
lawyers,
that Keanu Reeves movie?
lawyers are the only class of human being, me being one of them, which is hilarious, that I put them in the I don't trust you category. You're gonna have to earn my trust. Even police, I'll trust. Even judges, everyone's fine to me. I mean, even I don't care. You could be a fucking drug trafficker.
The lawyer is the only profession where someone is a paid manipulator. They're a paid manipulator. They're paid to manipulate, coerce, all these different things in order to prove someone wrong, in order to, do the I mean, even with the client lawyer confidentiality agreement, if they know you're guilty, they still don't tell. So they're still trying to get you off. Like, so, hey, even if Johnny Cochran felt and knew that OJ was guilty, it's still, he's already been paid. He's already been retained, that he can still defend that person and try to get him off. Like, that's an interesting profession. And it takes a certain person, just like I think that it takes a certain person to be attracted to being a politician, the same as it takes a certain character type to even be attracted to be a lawyer.
Hello.
What's
Can you
up,
hear us?
man?
What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm 1 minute late. Please abuse me. I deserve it.
Here we go then, man. Let's get the paddles out.
Yeah.
Get the paddles and the duct tape.
There we go.
Couple of those.
A couple swirlies, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, you need to make some pickled dildos.
Hell yeah, dude. Like pickle.
Yeah, the ladies, we were just talking about the
There we
ladies,
go.
and I bet a couple of those pickled dildos, man.
Oh yeah, dude. That's of course.
The ladies squirting.
It's all in
But
the future.
on top of that, you have to like put your name embroidered on it, so they,
Mm.
you know what I mean?
It's
that
ribbed.
embroidery
It's ribbed
rubs
with my
against
name.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ribbed
It's
for pleasure.
OSF with ribs.
That's hot.
That is hot.
How's your day
Knobs.
going out
We'll call
there?
it knobs. Good, man. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
So good, man.
Yeah.
And, hey, excited to talk to you.
This is the highlight of the year.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Because
Woo.
we've watched your stuff so much and just really, gosh, man, I've spent a lot of time watching your videos. So excited to be on a call with you.
Love it, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is probably going to be new for a lot of the people that watch this podcast. But one of probably our most popular, most commented, most interactive post on social media was one whereby we were talking about the difference between driving and traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Driving without a driver's license, and man, just a lot of people. The agents really came out. The paradigms really came out, the brainwashing,
Yeah, it's amazing to me, because it's like people freak out and they say all this stuff. And what's so funny is that you talk about taxes and it's like, there's some people that are like, there's a lot of like fear, like, oh, you're gonna get arrested, blah, blah, blah. But then you talk about like infinite money even, and people get real quiet when talking about infinite money. Nobody has much of anything to say about that, negative. And you talk about driving versus traveling, and people just fucking flip out, man. It's I don't know what it is.
They want.
Yeah.
It's like an emotional issue that people have. I don't know if it's and you don't know, like all these accounts that come onto my shit and do that, they're all like user 6949A7-7-7-, and then they don't have any picture.
Yeah.
Also, they're not real.
Well,
yeah. So it's sort of like
a bot.
Then you start getting into our people, is someone paying to have this done? Because then you respond to these accounts and they respond in weird ways. They respond in ways that don't equal what you're saying. And I've had people freak out with me, even on like call-in shows. People call in and totally flip out, start screaming, losing their mind. And the thing is they can't even, like, you say something calmly back in response to them, and they can't even process anything they're just like gone. They're just like,
Yeah. I was just at the cigar shop yesterday during the day, and I made like a slight joke, like, yeah, who likes paying taxes? And the guy next to me said, "Oh, I love paying taxes if it goes to something good." And I just like, oh shit. And then I was like, oh, so do you have like a tax accountant? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, why? If you love paying taxes so much, why don't you just pay what you think is a fair amount? And like he sat there and didn't say anything for like 20 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, he said, our freedom is like a great thing. And like did this little talk about freedom and shit. And I was like, all right, sounds good, man. Cool.
Yeah, I've had people, what people don't realize when you start studying the Internal Revenue Code and you start studying what taxes really are, the definition of the word tax is a contribution imposed, and they actually look at it as like an estate or gift. It's like basically a gift. There's two different like trusts or pools of money that all your payroll taxes and all your social security taxes and all your taxes go into, and it's basically considered gifts. That's why there's not really like, when you look at like the word refund doesn't really exist. You're basically gifting the money and then you're requesting that part of that gift be returned to you. And what's funny is that there's actually sections in Title 26 in the Internal Revenue Code that specifically talk about how if you want to donate absolutely anything you want, you can actually back up like a dump truck. Like I have a landscaping company, we have dump trucks. You can just fill that dump truck up with like couches and TVs and sinks and sandbags, and you can actually roll up to the IRS and you can actually dump all that shit off. And as per the Internal Revenue Code, they will take it as a donation on behalf of the United States, as long as it's unconditional and it's a donation on behalf of from you to the United States. It has to be unconditional, right? There can't be any condition attached to it. And the thing is that people who love paying taxes, I'm here to be your saving grace, your angel in shining armor, because I'll tell you right now, you can roll up on the IRS and give them money anytime you want, and they will take it as per the Internal Revenue Code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting because there's a place you can donate here, Idaho Youth Ranch. And when you donate, I mean, literally anything, they will give you a little thing for a tax write-off.
Yeah. The Goodwill does the same thing. Goodwill does the same thing. The Salvation Army does the same thing.
Yeah.
If you donate anything to the Salvation Army, to Goodwill, YMCA drives that they might have, if you donate anything, they will give you. They actually have pre-printed, long, almost like what a police officer would have for like tickets on the side of the road, and they just circle it and they put the number in there and they'll give it to you. And a lot of times, I don't think they know this or anybody really knows this, but a lot of times if you want one, they'll just give you a blank one and you write whatever you want on it. Like,
well, yeah, because the person that's taking the donations and writing, giving out, creating that security, essentially, we'll get into that in a bit, but that's money. If you can essentially give it to them, the IRS, saying, hey, I get a deduction, that's a rebate, that's a minus off of the bill that you're creating, and so it's all around us. And what's crazy is I think that, their whole game is based on plausible deniability. Hey, let's keep them so busy from the indoctrination camp, where you're literally like Pavlov's dog. You are trained to obey. You're trained to be a good worker. Look, bell goes off. Let's go have a break. Recess break. That's what recess means, is a break. They say it in court. Well, you're going to take a recess. So they're teaching you those words from elementary school. Then ring again. Oh, you get to go to lunch. And then boom, it's just indoctrination. And then you never have time to really read the rules of the game that we're all playing, the game of commerce.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know the rules, how can you ever expect to be a master at the rules?
Yeah. And what's funny is the amount of effort and work and time and money that it takes to, it's like how much time, effort, and money is put into creating this driver's license. Driving means any person operating a commercial motor vehicle. Motor vehicle means, any conveyance used on the highways for commercial purposes, in the furtherance of, some sort of business or other activity intended for profit that has, they have to get some kind of fair rate, fee, or other consideration in exchange for transporting people, property, or cargo. I mean, I almost have the whole thing completely memorized. It's amazing how much effort and time and how much propaganda and how much money has to be fueled into the propaganda, and how much Hollywood has to say it 100 times a day. The TV has to say it 1,000 trillion times a day. The radio has to say it 80 billion times a day. The police have to say it 80 billion times a day. The amount of effort and work that it takes. I mean, people, that's why I don't like people who run around and they're like, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. It's like, the fact that any of us are capable of doing any critical thinking at all, even on the smallest scale, is like we're living inside of like an electronic death camp. And it's like, people don't look at it that way, because you look around and you can drive your car and you can do this and you can go get some ice cream. But you can't even take a piss without getting hit with some sort of propaganda that is well funded. The psychiatric industry is involved with all of this, and they study people, they do surveys, they do all sorts of crazy shit trying to learn the best way to crack open a person's mind and brainwash people. It's all and a lot of people even see like after the war, after World War II, all the German psychiatrists and all the German scientists were all released into American jobs, because in the defense of the government, I mean, these people were brilliant. They're psychotic, but they are brilliant, right? And so people who are brilliant and psychotic want those kind of people who are brilliant and psychotic working for them. I mean, that makes sense, right? So I'm not saying the whole government's psychotic and brilliant. I'm just saying like the people who may be in a position where they could grab onto those people and employ them might be in themselves as individuals, psychotic and brilliant. So, because the whole system is psychotic and brilliant, if you think about it, right?
When you could even go and say that they've been perfecting this for as far as we can even like imagine, because, the Romans, and then you dive into, it was maybe Jay Griff or somebody else that I watch a lot of, that said the first trust was the Catholic Church in like 1461 or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
So you could even say they've been perfecting this for 100 years, and most of those people don't even know they're in it. We were just talking about this because you say it on your show, banks, a lot of those bankers that do the stamp process, they're just reading a book that goes over the process. And I recently found some books in a used library just right up the street here that are studying for the bar in 98. And what I realized is it's all just a script. Like there's hardly any laws in there. It's all procedures, courtroom conversations, like when to object, it's all a script and very little law whatsoever. Very, very small amounts of law. Cause I mean, I've been through business bankruptcy. I've been through 3 of the books now. And they're probably 175 pages and it's all scripts. So very interesting stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had several lawyers, probably 5 or 6, reach out to me and say, I love your work and this and that. And a lot of times they're a little bit like, they're kind of bracing for impact because like we talk a lot of shit about lawyers, as we should. It's the one, I don't like people talking shit about cops. I don't like people talking shit about judges. I don't like people talking shit about a lot of people, because I feel like most people are trying to do the best they can with what they have. But lawyers, what's the one profession that even Jesus Christ himself warned people about? What's the one profession?
Yeah, the lawyer.
Yeah,
lawyers.
Damn,
so
what's
lawyers,
that Keanu Reeves
lawyers are the only class of human being, me being one of them, which is hilarious, that I put them in the I don't trust you category. You're gonna have to earn my trust. Even police, I'll trust. Even judges, everyone's fine to me. I mean, even I don't care. You could be a fucking drug trafficker. You're fine. I don't care. Whatever. Not a human trafficker. Drug trafficker is okay. Because I kind of feel like that's sort of like a whole market in itself. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, in the free world, if someone wants drugs and someone wants to supply it and it ain't hurting nobody else, I don't really have a problem with
I
it.
stand for sure is, hey,
yeah,
I shouldn't be told what I can and cannot do within the confines of my own home. I should be able to do what, as
Yeah.
long as there's consent. And if I'm alone, then I can do whatever I want. I should be able to put whatever I want in my body,
Yeah.
and do whatever I want. Once I start infringing on another person's, freedom or rights
Yeah.
or safety, then yes, I agree. We need to have boundaries and bumpers, but at the end of the day, it's, hey, when someone starts telling me what I can and cannot ingest in my own, when I'm safely in my own house, is, oh, that's not going to work for me.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
back to your point on lawyers, is that, yeah, the lawyer is the only profession where someone is a paid manipulator. They're a paid manipulator. They're paid to manipulate, coerce, all these different things in order to prove someone wrong, in order to, do the I mean, even with the client lawyer confidentiality agreement, if they know you're guilty, they still don't tell. So they're still trying to get you off. Like, so, hey, even if Johnny Cochran felt and knew that OJ was guilty, it's still, he's already been paid. He's already been retained, that he can still defend that person and try to get him off. Like, that's an interesting profession. And it takes a certain person, just like I think that it takes a certain person to be attracted to being a politician, the same as it takes a certain character type to even be attracted to be a lawyer.
Yeah, it blows my mind how someone can go through, many, many years of schooling and go through the bar. And I mean, I know people, it's like, they're going through the bar and it's so stressful and they're like all fucked up and they're very emotionally unstable. And then they get done with all that. And then it's like they work so hard and they go up this like gigantic mountain to get to the top. And then it's just like, you go up this whole mountain and he just never thought that there was absolutely anything strange about any of this. Even just seeing the definition of the word person, which everyone's seen in the law area, just that alone. I mean, it's like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like,
is it another sign of a profession where someone like literally sells their soul for money? Like, a lot
I mean,
of that's
yeah,
coming out.
it's yeah. I mean, I've never seen that more than in the lawyer field, to be honest with you.
Well,
Shitload of money for very little work. I mean, you have a complaint form or a response form, and it's the same form you filled out before, and you print it off and you put the guy's name on it and you submit it into the court. I mean, sometimes these court cases, like right now, I'm really, really heavily involving myself. I just found a guy who I'm gonna be working with most likely, and he's been doing a lot of litigation over the past couple of years. He sent me a lot of videos of all the different breakdown of all the different cases and how it all works, and it's an arena that I want to get into. I want to become a full-blown trial attorney. So I'm in the process of learning all that right now. And then when I learn it and when I am able to break it all down, I'm going to make a bunch of videos out of it. And I want to create an army of trial attorneys. They're going to be in a lot of trouble at that point. That's
Yeah.
They're going to be in a lot of trouble. They're already freaking out. They're already freaking out because
That's sick.
so the thing is that once we have an army of trial attorneys, I mean, we're just going to take over the whole court system. And when I say take over the whole court system, I don't want it to make it seem like it's some kind of a coup or something like that. What I mean is we're going to force the court system to do exactly what the court system is supposed to be doing. And the judges are, 90% or 98, 92%, probably something like that from all the research I've done, of the judges that are out there are completely in favor of us doing that.
They don't have a choice.
Well, no, they like people, you have to be careful with this subject, because the thing is that if you make judges your enemy, how do you ever expect them to want to help you? Do you see my point?
Oh, I agree 100%. But
it's like, if you really do have a dickhead judge, which it does happen, and he just won't fuck with you, and he just won't even, and you just being a complete asshole and nothing you can do, and you're being polite, and you're doing exactly what the rule book says, and you're doing the whole thing, and he's just really, you can request to recuse that particular judge, but at the end of the day, I really don't think that that's really the issue. I think the issue is that one of the courses that I'm doing right now too is the How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer, the
I know
jurisdictionary
that one.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great course.
It's a great course. It's definitely a tough course. Even for me, I'm finding it to be like wow, like I really have to put some effort in here. I thought it was going to be kind of a cakewalk, but it's not. And so, even in that course, he says in 37 years or 32 years of doing this, judges, most of the time, you just have to get them to do what they need to do, and they may not be aware of what the correct thing is to do, and you have to show them and that kind of thing, right? Which, it makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't expect a judge to know everything about everything. I mean, I don't really think that any human being is really capable of knowing everything about everything when it comes to the law, until we crack this whole system and simplify law down to something a lot more manageable, like common law, which is like, 3 sentences. It's the whole fucking book on common law,
Yeah.
And that's beautiful because that's very easy to understand and assimilate. And it doesn't require you to spend 10 years of your life trying to figure out how to operate in society, like it does now. Right. And I saw a quote recently, even where it was like some kind of Roman, maybe it was a Roman thing or something. And he was saying, you can always tell the amount of corruption in a society by the size and amount of laws that there are.
Of course.
Which is probably true. So it's one of those things where, the judges, I think, are fine. I haven't personally experienced this, just from like third hand studying other things and studying these courses and doing these things and talking to lawyers and stuff like that. It's the lawyers you got to watch out for. And even in the jurisdictionary course, he says every lawyer is going to try to break and bend the rules constantly, and they're going to try to fuck you over constantly. He said the whole secret to winning court cases is to simply keep them in line and do what the rule book says, and force the other lawyers to play by the rules. And when you force them to play by the rules, they always lose because they just can't do it. They literally just can't do it. They can't. They're just incapable. They're just absolutely, completely incapable. And that's why what I'm seeing a lot of now is we're seeing a lot of, there's 2 different types of attorney, right? There's attorney at law, and there's attorney in fact, right? And this is like every single state has an attorney in fact act, and it's actually a full-blown breakdown of how that works and what it means. And the definition of attorney in fact is, a contractual agreement where a natural person gives the power to act in a legal capacity onto another natural person, essentially, is the definition from the California attorney in fact. So we have these attorneys in fact that are coming up all over the place, and there's more and more and more of us, me being one of them. And there's a lot of, oh, you're not a real attorney. Oh, you're not a real attorney. And at first that really pissed me off. Like, for example, I'm in the middle of a real estate deal right now, and they kind of they never responded to anything I sent, and they said he's not a real attorney, and they just wouldn't really respond. Now part of that is really irritating because I want them to respond. But then after a while, after about a month or a month and a half of thinking about it, I started thinking, actually, no, this is absolutely fucking fantastic. Because if they don't respond to anything, they default.
Right.
So then I started thinking, like, well, shit, this is the best thing ever. Please ignore me all day long, because I'm going to get summary judgment, right? So this is sort of like the beginning, and then we're starting to notice that judges are starting to say things like, for example, a lot of people are going into traffic court and saying, I'm not involved in commerce, and we're starting to hear a lot more now. I've heard it from 3 or 4 people now that they're being told, oh, well, you buy gas, so you're in commerce, which is completely insane. But the thing is the fact that we've had multiple judges saying this, we're starting to think that, they're starting to get kind of nervous, and they're starting to come up with these hilariously asinine rebuttals, which are completely not even within like 150 football fields of what the codes actually state. But it's just funny that they're trying, at least now that they're putting in that 1/100% of effort because they realize that this is big. This is getting way bigger, way faster. Now what's going to happen is, right now we're all just kind of like rookies, to be honest with you. We're all kind of like it's like this giant rookie avalanche of just these like kind of retards that are kind of bumbling around, and they're just kind of like all these kind of random retard rookies are kind of coming onto the scene, and it's all just fun and games now. But the thing is that once we really sharpen our tools, and once we really get this thing nailed down, boy, they're going to be oh my God, they're going to be, because the thing is, we're going to force the courts to do exactly what the courts are supposed to be doing by law. And that is, so you say something like, oh, we're going to take over the courts. It's like, oh, well, that could be construed as, something unpeaceful, something like a coup, something like that. And it's like, no, it's like, we're going to force the courts to do what they're supposed to do. And 90% of judges are wanting people to come in and help the judge understand even what they're supposed to be doing. So it's what it is, saying taking over the court is a bit of a misnomer, because the real truth is we're going to be cleaning up the court system. I guess that would be a better way of stating it. And you can get enforcement through the courts for whatever you want. I mean, anything that you want. If you want, all your bills to disappear, if you want whatever it is that you want, you use the courts to make that happen. I mean, people don't even realize even the IRS will pay your bills for you. And if they don't, then you can use the courts to force the IRS to do so. You can force the Treasury to pay your bills.
Well, and one thing I've noticed too is on the other end, just because I am going through the process of discharging debt right now, I'm sure I probably annoyed you a little bit with my Instagram messages, but the letters that they send back, like they don't even make sense. And then they just like throw random shit on the end, like Equal Credit Opportunity Act, and it's like, why did you even put that on there? It doesn't even respond to what I sent to you. So it's, I don't even think they know what they're doing. They're like, oh, we better send this guy something back.
Yeah. Capital One closes everybody's account now. You send in anything at all whatsoever, they just instantaneously close your account. I think they actually have like a policy now in place. Everywhere else is kind of, who knows what's going to happen, but Capital One is like, they're just getting absolutely fucking pounded by us, or us meaning anybody who's doing any of this, really. I mean,
yeah, because this has really started. I mean, it's growing fast. Like the using the coupon, like it's growing fast. And I think that to your point is that they close the account down straight away, thinking or knowing that 9.9 out of 10 people, once the account gets closed, they ain't going to move to the next step.
Yeah.
They're not going to challenge, because remember that the contract goes both ways, and they're bound. What I meant, and I think you mean by cleaning up the courts, is that, hey, we're just holding you accountable to the rules that you wrote. You're bound to those. When people go in like, oh, you're violating my constitutional rights, they're not bound. They're bound to the UCC. They're bound to these other rules. And so when we use those rules in a respectful way, it's just business. Hey, I don't want any controversy.
Yeah, that's right.
Just tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong here, because right here in the UCC, it states that, hey, this is a negotiable instrument. This is a note. This is these things, a coupon. It says it right there. Hey, I'm just playing the rules as you guys made them. So if I'm wrong, please let me know. Because I don't want any controversy. I don't want my account closed down. I don't want my credit or my name, besmirched. I don't want those things. And so, hey, you tell me if I'm wrong. But they're expecting that vast majority of people, and their game has been, it's been diabolically efficient in the sense of people are terrified of authority. They're terrified to go to court. They look at the judge as some all-ruling God, when you got to understand this person's just a secretary. They're an administrator. They're just there to handle the business. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to.
They're like a referee. Yeah, they're like a referee.
That's why it's
if you're playing football and you go and tell the referee is a piece of shit and you threaten him and you do all this stuff, how do you think he's gonna? A human being has emotions, and a human being can only be unbiased up to a certain point when you abuse the ever-loving fuck out of them before they're going to be like, you know what? I don't care what my job is. I'm not going to let you abuse me anymore.
Right. Why?
And to think that a fucking judge is any different is insular and depressing. Because the thing is, you think you're going to go into a courtroom and you're going to berate and you're going to abuse a judge and he's supposed to work for you. I mean, You're going in there because you don't want to be a slave, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to try to turn the judge into your slave.
Right.
How is that not hypocritical? You know what I mean? The judge is just a referee. He wants to move that court in the direction of what would be per the codes, per the laws, per what he thinks is right. And judges do have a sense of what's right and what's wrong. They've seen a lot of shit, a lot of them too. So it's I just don't. Like I said, I don't think the judges are really the problem. I think what you need to be careful of is the lawyers.
Mm. Well, and I've been studying harder now than I probably ever have in the past in any situation, ever. But I recently got this book, Writing in Law Practice, which is great because it breaks down like how to address things. It really does go into some definitions like, hey, if you're trying to get this across, don't say that, don't say this. And then it tells you the court case, why you don't want to say that. It's a great book. But it's interesting because I used this book to write my letter back to Capital One, going back to that, after they sent this whack ass letter to me. And I was one of those guys that asked you to read over it and gave me just fucking send it, don't be a pussy type shit.
Oh shit. So, I probably didn't even realize who I was talking to, which is hilarious. But yeah, I get like 80 million of those a day. So sometimes I get a little irritated because it's just like, I tried my best to stay on top of everything. You know what I mean?
You said it in a very nice way. Very
okay,
nice
good.
way. But,
okay, good.
Yeah, I was being over exaggerated, but I'm just saying like, that's what you were kind of telling me like, hey, I got all this free shit for you. Just fucking do it yourself. And I need that sometimes, right? Because sometimes I'm one of those people that like, I just need somebody to check over it so I feel better. But really,
just to be clear on this point, people don't realize. So when you go into court, and again, I'm just starting on this. I'm just getting rolling on this. I haven't even left the fucking train station yet. I'm still in the train station when it comes to litigation.
Right.
I'm getting close to leaving the station, I would say, which is literally just like the first or second step. It's happening very slowly because it's not something I want to rush into. But what people don't realize is that when you go pro se, which means that you're presenting on behalf of yourself, which is a little bit complicated because if you're presenting on behalf of the ens legis, the public corporation, or your all caps name, you're not really pro se, so it can get a little confusing, right? So pro se would be like you as a natural person or human or man or woman presenting as yourself as the natural person, and it wouldn't have the public corporation involved at all. When you're pro se, there's actually literally case law, and it's very well known in all the court systems that a lot of the really intense procedure that they come down on hard on lawyers and stuff like that, they're actually supposed to, and they're actually very good at this. They're supposed to be much, much, much easier and more gentle on pro se litigants. So, or anyone listening to this that's like, oh, it's just so much to learn and this and that, realize that the court systems are actually designed in a way where when you are presenting on behalf of yourself, the court, all the courts, state, federal, doesn't matter where you go, they're all set up to assist you dramatically, and they make it a lot easier for you in a lot of ways than it is on a lawyer. So a lawyer would have to like follow this entire landmine field perfectly, and if they fuck anything up, they can screw up their case. They can screw up a lot of things. Pro se is not like that. Pro se is like, you can kind of fumble your way through it and they'll let you do it.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Well, and one thing that I've found interesting is, and you brought this up, and that's why I am trying to keep track of everything, is we're building a case.
There you go.
So my last letter, I didn't just send them the letter. I also included picture or screenshots of everything they've sent, copies. Good. And I also included all of my copies because I've taken pictures of everything I've sent and had notarized. And so I put that all into a big folder or manila envelope and, sent that certified return mail. And I haven't gotten a response yet, so still waiting. But man, I was pumped about that letter. Like absolutely fucking.
Yeah, it's empowering. It's really, really empowering when you finally get to that first point, when you're, because I talk about it a lot. One of the big realizations that I had was the word responsibility, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's actually from the legal world. And I believe that word actually means the ability to respond.
Yeah.
Like literally, like I think that is the actual definition of the word responsibility, right? And the thing is that, you go through life and you don't have the ability to respond to a lot of things. That what we're doing is we're empowering people to have the ability to respond.
Right.
And the problem is a lot of people think that you're supposed to respond in a particular way. Maybe, but that's not really what it is. It's just that, are you able to develop and deliver your own response of whatever it is that you would like to respond with? I would say the only wrong response is a highly, highly aggressive or violent response would be the only response that I would say, yeah, that's I wouldn't do that. Anything that doesn't fit that category of threats, heavy threatening, total freak out, violence, threat of violence, as long as it doesn't fit those categories, I feel like if you are able to respond in any way, shape, or form, that's what matters.
Well, hey,
because when you respond in absolutely any way that is not completely insane or belligerent, they can't do a summary judgment on you. It makes it almost impossible to just close everything out and come after you for money. They can't really do it. You can kind of float that boat just by responding.
Yeah.
I mean, you could win court cases by just responding to everything they send to you. They will give up. These people are lazy.
That's almost the goal, it's, and like you said, the responsibility and the ability to respond is that it's so how you put it so well, rather than threatening, it's, hey, I'm just trying to clarify here.
Yeah.
So like you said in one of your videos, I want to edify them as the expert, saying, hey, I just want to make sure I'm not making a mistake. In here, in this UCC right here, I read this, I'm interpreting like this. Can you, am I wrong here? Because then you're forcing them through honor to say, hey, now they have to answer. So rather than telling them, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this, I'm going to come after you, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to, all this color of law and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, I'm just the good beneficiary. I'm the good steward of my estate that was created for me at the time of my birth. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite episodes of yours is when you go over what Jorge had sent in.
Oh yeah.
And I'm of unlimited time, so I don't give a shit either if people see it. But I mean, would you look at my letter and pull it up and tell me what you think, whether it sucks?
Sure, why not? Yeah. I mean, I don't think it a lot of these places are just gonna they don't care what you say. They're just gonna do whatever they're gonna do. But yeah, sure, I'll look at it, no problem. While you're pulling that up, one of the things I can say again, I'm no pro in litigation, so just want to be clear.
Yeah, no, and a
lot of the stuff that I'm saying is a lot of stuff that I'm researching right now, right? And there are certain things that I may talk about, like for example, I'm about ready to talk about discovery, right? I've never done a discovery. I have a guy who I'm working with who has, and I know some of the basics of it. Now, think about discovery, for example. Let's say you're going to go after one of these banks because they closed your account, like Cap One. If you get into discovery with Cap One, you send them a bunch of questions, and you can ask them anything, and they basically have to answer. That you're going to get enforcement through the courts. So, think about this: you ask questions like for example, question number 1. Why is it that it was never disclosed to me that I was doing a blank endorsement on the securities that I was? Question number 2, after I gave you the blank securities, and then the blank endorsed securities, and then you put the restrictive endorsement on the securities, did you go to the Federal Reserve window to exchange that security for Federal Reserve notes? Question number 3, if yes to the last question, what was the date that exchange was completed? Question number 4, what banking institution or where exactly or what individual person was responsible for exchanging those collateral securities for Federal Reserve notes? Question number 5, what equal consideration did Capital One give to me after I had given Capital One, unbeknownst to me, a valuable collateral security? Question number, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
By the time you have 25 questions like that, they're already in tears trying to slash their own wrist by question 2.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I understand what you said about like not going or not being a pro or anything like that, but I think the three of us talking about this might help some other people as well too. Because again, this is obviously nerve-wracking and going through this process, because I do think that it is kind of scary because we are just getting into it. But I know it sounds like you're doing it. I know Gary's doing it, and I know I'm doing it as well, where it's just so much research. I'm probably spending, 3 or 4 hours a day
Oh yeah.
researching this stuff. So, yeah, let's just dive straight into this.
And a lot of people get, a lot of people are funny because they get a little bit, what do you call it? They get a little bit overwhelmed. Oh, I have to spend that much time, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you what, for anyone listening to this, when you start getting into this and you start to kind of see more and your vision starts to get a little bit less narrow and the horse blinders start coming off, it's going to be the greatest 3 or 4 hours of your entire life every single day. I mean, you're going to be, you're never going to need a fucking Rhino 9000 gas station boner pill ever again, bro. Like, you're never going to need a Blue Chew. You're never going to need a Viagra ever again. Like, you're just going to be like revved and ramped out of your fucking skull all the fucking time.
I mean, this is better than anything on Netflix or on the TV.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
this
yeah.
this is the road to actual freedom. Like, you don't deserve freedom if you're not willing to stand up and do whatever it takes, not in a violent, aggressive, or threatening way. But again, you do not deserve the riches of heaven if you are not willing to be responsible.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. So this is a cap 1. That's great. They're going to close your account, but whatever. I mean, I don't really care. I'm just saying, it doesn't really matter.
They already did. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am writing to you as a beneficiary of the trust and account holder of the, I mean, you could have said blah, 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 Google Gaga, go fuck yourself. And they would have still closed the account. You could have sent a picture of you gaping your asshole and they would have still, you could have done anything, you know what I mean? They would have just closed your account.
Yeah.
I am writing to you as a beneficiary of the trust and account holder of the accounts. Okay. I am addressing the notification of account closure dated November 28th. Oh, this is after you closed it. Is my contention his action has been precipitated by misunderstanding. Notice dishonor. Please be reminded that as per UC 5-3-501, promissory note was presented as an instrument for settlement of any outstanding obligations. The refusal or failure to process this note at just cause would not only contravene 503 concerning notice of dishonor. I have previously presented a promissory note intended to discharge. Okay. Yeah. Wow. This is pretty intense. This is great. Furthermore, the non-acceptance without proper explanation could implicate the matters of obligation under UCC 3-415. 505. Yeah. 18 USC 657. Yeah. What is that? That's purloining negotiable instruments. That's like 25 years in prison or something, isn't it? That one?
Fuck yeah.
In the spirit of cooperation and in accordance with UCC 3-501, hereby reconsideration of the accounts. Yeah, good. Where did you send this to? You sent this to the legal department? You should send this to the legal department.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know where to send shit. I just, to be honest with you, people are saying like the indentured trustee. Some people like George, he just sent his shit into the fucking payment office, which I hardly ever see that work. But that one worked.
I get into questions on the second page too.
Additionally, 3-07 claims. Yeah, that's intense, bro. That's like probably one of the most fucking hardcore letters I've ever seen anybody write. That's like, you write letters kind of like I do.
Well, and again, I spent quite a bit of time, and there was actually probably 4 or 5 different things that I wrote out and then combined them. But here's the questions I asked, and I didn't. The problem is this book has a question section that I actually read over, and it says you should keep them pretty open, like don't like get too detailed in questions because I don't know. To be honest with you.
Well, if you get too detailed in the questions, then what they'll do is it'll be like they'll take one tiny little part of it very literally, and like you could say, is it true that on this and this date, blah, blah, blah happened? And they'll say, no, it wasn't on that date. So they'll justify that as saying no. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
they'll do anything they can to answer it. And when the more specific that you get, if it's a six different pieces of information inside the question, and just one of them doesn't quite fit completely,
Right.
they'll say no. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's more open-ended, it makes it more difficult. And you start studying, like I'm studying, like, direct examination, cross-examination right now, which is like part of the course and part of the things that I'm studying. And yeah, this is sort of like a combination of a lot of different things. You have the requests, you have these different questions, which is sort of like examination, cross-examination, direct examination, and then you have, it's sort of like discovery as well. But the thing is that they're probably just going to ignore all this. That's the issue. You know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
the thing is that the way you've written this is amazing. Probably one of the best letters I've ever seen, ever. The problem is that without litigation, it's just going to get thrown in the trash can. I mean, you just this alone, you've already got your whole court case sitting right here. I mean, this is a really great letter. If you just converted this into a complaint and filed it as a federal lawsuit and paid $408, this is looking pretty good.
I mean,
especially if you have all the photos and you have all the pictures and you have all the evidence, just attach all that as different exhibits and just file it as a federal complaint. Just put the little header up top and send it in, or just go in. And it's funny, if you go to the clerk and you just say, hey, look, I want to file this lawsuit. If you're missing something, they'll tell you. They can't give you legal advice. They'll say that. Like if you ask them almost anything, they'll say, I can't give you legal advice, or I can't answer that question. Gotcha. But if you just hand them shit and say, I want to file this, if there's something missing, they will kind of tell you like, oh, you're missing this form, or, oh, you're missing this little thing. That you can't really ask a lot of additional questions. This whole like can't give legal advice. It's very weird. It's a very weird conversation. Just be kind of ready for that. But you can just keep handing them shit until they accept it. And you can just go in. They want this little form that's supposed to be attached. You take it. You can't quite figure it out right there. So you take it home. You read it for a week. You call someone who may be able to help you, and then you go back in with the form and your paperwork. Now there's something else that they want you to do, and it's something missing. And okay, and then you take that. But after you do that once, from that point, you're not going to have that issue anymore, because you're going to know like, oh, they're going to want this one and this one and this, right? So, but this is looking really, really good. This is like, you could even, I mean, here's your discovery questions right here. Your request is very clear. What codes and what sections you're talking about is very, very clear. I mean,
well,
I would go for a federal lawsuit on this.
I found a book too that I just ordered. It's it's a couple different states included, but it's the forms and pleading book. And that way, you can almost show up to the clerk and have everything ready, because it tells you exactly what you need to do in that book. It was supposed to be here last week. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm going to read the shit out of that book.
Yeah. So you're going almost down like a bar attorney path. You're learning the procedure farther than any pro se litigant would ever really need to learn. The cool thing about pro se is that, so like they have all these different writs. They have all these different motions. You can, as a pro se, you can just be like, hey, like, what's the deal? Like, let's end this. No one's responding to my communications. And they're going to be like, oh, he's asking for a motion for summary judgment. Like they're going to take whatever you say and they're going to like translate it for you, basically. And it's so like, I didn't realize that, it's actually a lot easier than people think when you are coming in and you're presenting on behalf of yourself. It's actually a lot easier. Like, let's say, for example, you could say like, hey, dude, like, I just don't know, like, you wouldn't get emotional, I mean, you'd say like, hey, I with all due respect, I don't know like what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't understand what is being requested of me. I'm following the rules. I'm doing this. And the judge will be like, okay, you're asking for the case to be thrown out on the grounds of, failure to state a claim with which relief can be granted. That would be like the technical term of what that person would be asking in that moment. With a pro se situation, they will actually assist you in that way where they'll translate what it is that you're trying to say into the actual legal translation of that thing. So it's actually really cool. Not to say that your first time in court and your first time doing all this is going to be a fucking cakewalk, but I'll tell you, the average person, you got 80 million lawsuits you could be filing. You got the DMV. If they never told you that a driver's license puts you in commerce and that you're now a slave of the state, if they never told you that when you went in and got a certificate of title, you were donating the superior ownership to the state, and the state now owns your vehicle. If you were never told that the registration sticker is the motor vehicle theft prevention program, if they never told, if you go to if there's so many, there's so many lawsuits. If the credit card company non-disclosed to you that you were doing blank endorsements on all of your securities, if Equifax never told you that the credit score that they're using is actually a credit score that's a fictitious name, it's actually the credit score of your ens legis, your public corporation, and has absolutely nothing to do with you at all whatsoever. You can sue them for I believe it's 18 USC 50. What is it? Fictitious name, Title 18. Title 18, Section 1342. Whoever, for the purposes of conducting, promoting, or carrying on by means of the Postal Service any scheme or device or other unlawful business, uses or assumes or requests to be addressed by any fictitious, false, or assumed title, name, or address, or name other than his own proper name, it's a felony. It's up to 5 years in prison. And you can hit all your credit card companies with that one. You can hit the Equifax with that one. You can hit TransUnion with, bro, you every single person listening to this podcast, you can go out, and there's actually a Latin term. I forget the name of it. It's called something. It's the Latin version of the word pauper. It's electus pauperis or something like that. Informa pauperis. I think it might be informa pauperis. Informa. So what it is it's a here it is. The right to proceed in forma pauperis. This is from California. In California, an indignant plaintiff, a broke person, may be afforded the right to sue in forma pauperis at the discretion of the court, and thus be exempted from the payment of the fees, including jury fees. So it's a form that you're going to fill out and you're going to file with your complaints, with your lawsuits. And it's basically saying like, hey, look, I have this situation, but I can't afford the upfront fees that are required. May I defer the payment of those fees to a later date? And then the court can take their fees out once I win, and it has to be approved. And they approve these, I don't know if it lowers your status and stuff, because you're basically in the manner of a pauper, which there are certain references on how that's not the best thing in the world. Like, I'm not going to use this personally, but I actually have money. A lot of people don't have money. So my whole point is that even if you're flat fucking broke, you can sue all these different organizations for millions. You within a year, because it's not going to happen overnight. Within a year, you can have $10 million in your bank account, almost guaranteed. Literally, almost guaranteed. There's literally no way. Because let's say you're going to sue the DMV, you're going to sue the Social Security Administration. You're going to sue any police activity that's ever happened, any tickets or anything. You're going to sue them. You're going to sue the police academy because they didn't teach anybody about commerce. You're going to sue. You can sue. The list goes on and on and on. You get the picture, right?
Well,
so let's say you got 12 lawsuits easily. Anybody, if you got a pulse, there's probably 12 lawsuits you can line up, right? You do the first one first. It's slow. You're kind of like not really getting it. I don't know. Then you do the second one. Okay. So it's been, 6, 12, 18 months by this point, right? By then you've pretty much got this under control. Okay. Now, the third lawsuit all the way to the 12th, you can file all those once you feel comfortable all at the same time now. And now you're running 8, 9 lawsuits all at the same time. The first 2 already gave you what you needed. I've had multiple reports, probably 4 or 5 or 6 of people that are walking down the courts, and even the opposing attorneys will train you as you go. It's actually crazy. They'll answer your questions. They'll help you. People, think about it. I mean, people see a guy who's struggling to understand their profession. They're usually pretty like, holy shit, this guy's like really fucking working for it, bro. Like, our natural inclination is to help each other, especially, you see a guy who's trying to fix a car and he's trying as hard as he fucking can, and you're an auto mechanic. You're going to be like, hey man, let me, Jesus Christ, it's like guy's over there bleeding, sweating to death. He's broken his half his fingers. And it's like, well, Jesus, bro, like, it's a natural inclination. Plus the court's a lot easier on the pro se. Plus you can go in former pauperous if you've got no fucking money. I mean, this road is a lot easier and more lucrative than people realize it is, I think. And plus, like, I think you're about ready to say, Gary, I think the money is just a small portion of it. I say that because, the bigger picture is the fact that we need to get these completely off the rails organizations, such as the Department of Motor Vehicles, back onto the rails of where they're supposed to be. They're like 1,800 football fields away from where they're supposed to be. Well, and all we got to do is just put them back to where they're supposed to be. And the cool thing about it is you can fix our country. You can fix our government. You can help you can help millions and millions of people. You can become a national hero while at the same time becoming absolutely grotesquely filthy rich. Why would anyone not want that? You need no training. If you can talk, if you can talk, you can walk down this path.
Yeah,
if you can talk,
William Wallace every day I wake up, just fucking harder than Chinese algebra.
Yeah, if you can speak and you're not, if you're fucked and you can hardly talk and you're like, you're nervous and you can't even talk to people at all. You're just fucked. I mean, that's a different story. You're gonna have to. That's a rocky situation. You might take you a couple of years just to get up to the point where you can speak, and then you can go do the lawsuits. But if you can speak and you can write a fucking sentence, that's pretty much all you need.
Man,
you don't even need any fucking money.
A good point is that, I've been on this journey since 2007. And I'll tell you what, that more than anything, and I've heard a couple people talk about this, this is a spiritual journey. This is a personal development. Like, yeah, you need to learn to speak for yourself, to speak clearly, to speak audibly so that people can hear you. And so, again, it goes back to that maxim of law. Hey, is if you're not willing to express your freedom or your rights, then you don't deserve them.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what holds most people back, and it is the time to go through the process of that first litigation against the DMV, let's call it, because they know how to play the game. They're gonna drag your ass, and you still got to go to work in the morning. You got these kids busting your balls. They want it like that. And so I think you brought up a good point. It says more people like us wake up, because I mean, we got nothing but time. To me, this is just a game that I'm learning to play. That, hey, more and more people are catching fire to this. They need to understand is that, man, you brought this up so well, is how much time and money is being wasted on these departments where the sole purpose is just to extort money from people. Like, we could eradicate hunger. Everybody could. We don't need a DMV. We don't need drivers. We don't need these things. These departments were created with the express intention of extorting money from people.
Yeah. Well,
So
they were originally they were created with the express. Well, if you go back to, yes, at this point now, probably yes, but the original purpose of the DMV was the original purpose of the DMV was to standardize commercial activity on the highways. Okay. But if you want to go even farther than that, and you really, really, really want to know what it really is, it's to standardize commercial activity on the highways within the District of Columbia. That's really, 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 really where the DMV is at. But if you want to go and you want to be a little more easy on the DMV, then you would say, the DMV is to standardize commercial activity, commercial transport on the highways, right? So
But
that
as
would
soon
be,
as money is involved, now there's profit involved. So yeah, we could standardize them without fees. Like, why does there need to be a fee to register your car? If it's really about tracking things so we know whose ownership, why should there be money involved?
Well, and
yeah, it's,
I would go back to what Brandon said earlier of the propaganda is I don't think most people think that they're deserving of infinite money or riches or being happy. Like most
yeah,
people have been beat up so much that like when you tell them that, the first thing that pops in their head is I don't deserve that.
yeah, oh yeah. That's like I remember one time I posted a post about getting utilities paid for, and it was like one of the craziest, most explosive posts I've ever posted. It's like 1,500 comments. And I put on there, I'm like, why in the fuck are you guys all excited about fucking utilities? Like, this is stupid. Like, I just posted this because I closed down I had a power and water and gas account, and it was under not my social security number. And the social security number for the ens legis. And, I realized that I didn't want it to be, I wanted to change that. I didn't want my social security number attached, or the social security number attached to my gas and electric and water. And I said, I basically called in and I said, hey, I want to let you know I've gotten rid of my social security number. And she was like, there was like dead air on the other side. I go, yeah, I just went into the Social Security Administration and it just decided that it just wasn't something I wanted to involve myself anymore. So I just got rid of it. And I no longer have it. So how do I update my account to where it's not on my account anymore? Because I don't have one anymore. And she was confused, and she got off she went on hold, and she got with her senior, her supervisor. And she said, well, the way it would work is we would close down that account, and then we would open up another account, and you would have to come in physically to the office, and you would have to present a non-expired passport. And I said, okay, I could do that. So I walked down there and I sat down, and these people thought I was like a fucking an African king. You know what I mean? They're like, how did you do this? This is amazing. So wait, you don't have to pay social security taxes anymore out of your paycheck? And I go, no, I don't have any of that anymore. I didn't even know you could do this. I've never heard of anyone doing this. This is incredible. They wouldn't let me leave. And there were people waiting, and the people waiting didn't want me to leave either. It was fucking hilarious because they were all listening in on the conversation. So it's amazing. You don't have to, the big shift in all of this is when you realize that you don't have to be combative at all. You just tell them like, people, the way I do driving versus traveling is very different than anyone else. Very, very different than anyone else. I create my own diplomatic plates that look just like the diplomatic plates that are issued by the Department of State. It's the same thing. It's the little Department of State symbol on the upper left, and it's like kind of cocked like 30 degrees. And then you have the red line that goes across the top, and it says in white letters diplomat. And then you have on the Department of State issued ones, the background below the red is sort of like an aqua green, whereas mine is more like a blue, because I thought the aqua green was really ugly. And then you have the black numbers, and then you have a white outline around the black numbers, which makes them really pop. And you have underneath that, you have ambassador at large, and then below that it says a non-commercial automobile, because in California the term for a private use vehicle is automobile, not motor vehicle. So I use the California definition, right? Because I'm in California. So the way that I do it is way different. Because you see a lot of these guys doing exempt, doing this, doing that. I wanted something that was more clear. I wanted something that was taken a lot more seriously. And I wanted something that was a lot more bold, but in a very quiet way. And to be honest, I had the diplomat plate sitting on my desk right here for like probably 4 months. And I was like, God, these things are fucking crazy. I don't know if I want to. I knew I was going to do it. I was just kind of building up the strength to do it. And a lot of people don't realize that I'm just like everybody else. I study things and study things and study things, and I'm nervous and study things. And then eventually I put it on my desk and I look at it every single day. And I know like, I'm going to hit that like 80-85% okay with this point. Maybe I'll still have, some terror associated with it. And then I'll be like, I'll take action. You know what I mean? But I'm going to stare at the fucking thing every single day until I do. And I stared at those fucking things every single day for probably 4 months. And then I finally went to an event down at Slowjamistan, which is a micronation here in California, right by the Salton Sea, of which I'm an ambassador. And I have a special passport for Slowjamistan right here. And it's got my picture inside the passport is me in a pickle outfit, which is the same picture on the website. If you go to slowjamistan.org, you can see they have an ambassador list and I'm on there. And all their shit, they have cop cars that say, dial 911 for tacos, strippers, and jazzercise. They have a fire truck that says where to hose at, HOSE, right? These people are like fucking epic. They have their own money. They have what's called the double. This is actually a paper double. This is actually the front and this is the back, and it even has a serial number at the top. You can see it. They have their own coins. This is Randy Williams. He is the Sultan of Slowjamistan. Actually, you know what? I love this so much. I'm going to do a screen share on this. Yeah. You've disabled my screen share. If you let me do a screen share, I would love to talk a little bit about this, because what happened was I went to Slowjamistan for a state party, which is like basically they're opening up their own sub-states. And I went there and they all have these like fucking crazy ass license plates, bro. Like one of them, the registration sticker, which was completely manufactured, said like fucking 2039, and below that it said like Slowjamistan DMV. And I was like, you know what, bro? I was like, and one of them said like in the police we trust or some shit, or it said like fallen police. I was just like, all right, bro, like I'm being a fucking pussy about this. I came home from Slowjamistan. On that same day, I came home from Slowjamistan. And the first thing I did, I went under my sink, grabbed my tools, grabbed my plates, and within probably 15 minutes of pulling in my apartment complex, I had those diplomatic plates on my car. Nice. But the reason why I'm telling you this story is because it takes what it takes. I don't like people who are not doing shit and using that as an excuse to do absolutely anything forever. But like in general, the first time you litigate, I mean, God, that's a serious fucking step. You know what I mean? I mean, I know some guys who they dive out of the plane without a parachute. They're just like, all right, fuck it, I'll figure it out. Hopefully I'll hit something that isn't too hard. They always succeed because that's kind of the best way to live life. They learn 10 years worth of shit in a year. But I understand that that's not everybody, So anyways, this is the Republic of Slowjamistan. This is a full-blown micronation. And for anyone that doesn't believe that, the definition of foreign government comes from 18 U.S.C. 11. Foreign government defined. The definition of a foreign government is includes any government, faction, or body of insurgents within a country with which the United States, which is defined as Washington, D.C., is at peace, irrespective of recognition by Washington, D.C. So the whole point here is that this is a very, very peaceful nation. It's entirely based on self-deprecating humor, a lot like my brand, honestly. It is absolutely gut-wrenchingly hilarious. You can become a citizen entirely free. There is no taxation in Slowjamistan. For anyone wondering how they can be a citizen of a nation of which they do not live inside of, that is a very, very easy thing for me to cover in the United States Code. You're going to go to Title 8, Section 1101, subsection A23 to read the definition of the term naturalization. The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. So you are more than welcome to, as per the United States Code, as per the federal government, you are more than able to confer nationality of the state called the independent micronation state of Slowjamistan upon yourself after birth by any means whatsoever. And by doing that, you become a national, which is 8 USC 1101 subsection A21. The term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. All you have to do is just write this up in some sort of official capacity and send it in, and you are legally naturalized into Slowjamistan if you'd like to. Slowjamistan, there is no taxation. The only rules in Slowjamistan, I believe, are you cannot wear Crocs within the territorial boundaries of Slowjamistan. And the other thing you can't do in Slowjamistan is you cannot eat string cheese by biting into it. You have to peel it off in sections. I believe that's the only two rules of Slowjamistan. There's an entire parliament of Slowjamistan. You can go here to parliament. Let's see here. Oh, that's not it. Let's see here.
Well, and while you're looking for that, what the part where you said jumping out with a parachute, I believe that's why I was sending you that shit, because that's how I feel like I'm diving into this.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I can
I'm
tell
jumping
by
out of
your
a plane
letter.
without a
Yeah,
parachute.
I can tell by your letter. You definitely have been working hard. So here's Parliament. We've got it's kind of more serious at first. Now keep in mind, if you go to Google Maps, if you go to Google Maps and you type in Slowjamistan, the Republic of Slowjamistan, right? It's just this teeny tiny little plot of absolutely nothing in the middle of the desert. Look, there's a Salton Sea. There's Salton City, right? So when I went down there, there's a local town, and you can see it's right here next to the border. This is the border, I believe, of Mexico. Yeah, that's the border of Mexico right there, right? Because there's Mexicali right there, right? So there's a local town. It's called Brawley. And the mayor of Brawley was at Slowjamistan, and the Sultan of Slowjamistan gave the mayor of Brawley a key to the city. And then Brawley had let's see here, where is it? Brawley had a parade, and they had a Slowjamistan thing in the parade. Yeah, see, it's it's spelled differently. That's Brawley. Okay. 30 miles. So they had a float, a Slowjamistan float in the Brawley parade, and the mayor of Brawley was on the Slowjamistan float.
Wow.
with the Sultan, right? So if you look at the website here, it gets goofier and goofier, right? Because then it starts coming down here, Crown Prince, and then you start it gets goofier and goofier. Minister of Tomfoolery, Minister of Mental Health, Minister of Astronomy, Director of Misdirection, right?
Huh.
Minister of Margaritas. And then this is all this one's my personal favorite. Empress of Catlandia, and you click on Catherine Keys, and she's got this is the Empress of Catlandia, which is like a sub-state inside of Slowjamistan or something hilarious. And it goes down and it just gets wilder and wilder, as you can see, and everyone involved is wild. I actually met this lady when I was there, Cosmic Creativity. She was wearing that same blazer. I met some of these people actually when I was there. I'm not a member of parliament. This guy's got a nice raccoon hat here. He's the governor of no Crocs in here. That's the one rule. You can't wear Crocs, right? There's even a stable where they have like one of those old school where you put your head and your arms in the public square, and you're like have to sit in there for 6 hours, like public humiliation.
Gallows.
They have one of those for people who wear Crocs. They have one of those in Slowjamistan. But if you go down here on the ambassador list, there's me right there.
Wow. You know what this goes to prove is that it's all made up. The whole game, the whole charade, it's all made up. It's all just made up bullshit put on pieces of paper, and people consent to it. It's all based, and this is
Exactly.
a perfect example of they're just making a mockery of it to be like, hey, man, see through the lines. Like, this is all a crock of shit. Like, everything you're fed on the news, it's all a crock of shit. The president is nothing but it's not real. It's not fucking real.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's there are actually multiple micronations. The biggest ones that I know of are Slojamistan, which I believe has like 16,000 citizens now, but it's growing. Oh my God, it's growing
Wow.
so fast.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. And then the oldest one in America is, I believe, the Republic of Molossia.
Oh, I think I
Republic.
saw something about that on Netflix, maybe, or YouTube, probably, to be honest with you. But
This is like 1977, the Republic of Molossia. Yeah, this is you can go on to, I can do a screen share again. This is this dude's like older and more this so Randy Williams, the guy who is the Sultan of Slojamistan, he went and he's traveled, he's been in every single, he's been in like 193 countries or something crazy. He's like a travel
Wow.
bug, right? The guy's wild, right? Now he went and visited this guy, the Sultan or whatever of Molossia, which is actually a micronation inside of the territorial boundaries of the unincorporated Nevada territory, right?
No
So
way, visitors. Wow.
so this dude is the one who gave Randy Williams the information and the idea and the background behind creating the micronation of Slojamistan within the territorial boundaries of the unincorporated California Republic. This is the oldest micronation that I know of, but the problem is that because of the wording, people don't understand a lot of the stuff. The definition of the term micronation includes all tribal villages. All tribal villages are legally separate countries.
Yeah.
That's why they have tribal police. Normal police cannot go inside the tribal. So you say to yourself, "Oh wow, Molossia, it's like 1977. Holy shit!" No, it's just it's probably the oldest non-tribal micronation, but the oldest micronation is probably like a Cherokee or like one of the original Indian tribes that have been here forever. One of the like the first locations of, like, let's say, I mean, as far as I know, what percentage of Oklahoma is Native American, right? Because I believe that's the by far the, yeah, see
74%. Oh no, excuse me, 9.
oh no, hold on, let me, I know that the highest percentage of Indian
Native
population,
American land. What about Native American land?
what percentage of Oklahoma is Native American land? 43%.
Yeah.
All of those lands most likely are filed as basically completely independent foreign governments or micronations. So the idea of Slojamistan and Molossia might seem very, very new. It's completely not. This has been going on for forever.
And then, I mean, it's really just, again, that's how effective the programming works. Like, you can go to Cornell University and, people see these codes that we're showing and they still don't believe it. Like, that's how well it works. And so kind of led me to, people don't, one of the biggest things, and the first thing is people don't understand is from the time of your birth. The time of your birth, like, people don't understand. Like, you were mentioning, the Social Security, like, it's not yours. It says right there on the back, this is not your card, but they've identified with it. And so
so this is Social Security number is the EIN number of the public corporation of your name in all capital letters.
Right. Yeah, that a bank, a trust, because remember, many banks were called bank and trust. A trust was created in using your name, using your identity. So most people don't even understand that you don't even own the identity that you use.
Yes, that's right.
It's not even yours.
You're identifying as a public corporation. That public corporation fits the definition of the word person, and that's why it's so confusing. Because the word person in law means an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, or corporation, or anything. So when they say the word person, are you the person named on this document? It's a very difficult question, because the thing is that the definition of the word person could include a trust, partnership, association, or corporation. So you have to be careful. You have to ask yourself, is this one of those things? And if it's in all capital letters, most likely it is. And if the wording is very vague in the contract, most likely it is as well. So the legal term for a man or a woman, a living man or a woman, is called natural person. So it's not the greatest term in the world to use, but that's the term that they use. And it's a term that I've done some digging on, and I can't really find anywhere that would really be much of a loophole to that particular term. So if you wanted to just cross out the word person and write natural person, or write natural before the word person, it cleans up and clarifies the contract, because the word person is very vague, very, very, very vague.
Well, how I discovered you was back, last year, December of last year, actually about a year ago. I had a legal issue that I needed to deal with, and I wanted to deal with it with a conditional acceptance. And that's how I first
Oh yeah.
found you and came across your information. And I did. I responded with a conditional acceptance to the lawyers, their letter. I just responded with a conditional acceptance, and I never heard from them again. So I thought, oh, okay, man, that really worked. Like, it was very in depth, like just using questions like, hey, I accept the facts here. I'm not here to create controversy. I'm not here to argue. In fact,
Yeah.
I'll pay you the money, but I need you to answer these questions for me.
Yeah.
And so I never got a response. And so the person who had hired the attorney then filed a civil suit personally. And so